Victory is never attained without the possibility of failure. So, I grew up in Minnesota. Everybody ready? I was ADD my whole childhood into my forever. So maybe was is too strong of a word. There was a moment in my life where I realized I was ADD. So I was ADD before ADD was cool. So back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s or whatever, the way that you dealt with ADD back in those days was dad would beat you and you would do athletics. So that's the way it was in my home, right? So I learned to control my lack of attention and over-energetic. I learned to funnel it rather than just go, I need medication or whatever. So back in the day, it was just like you either do this or you get hit, or you go find a acceptable outlet. So for me, it was athletics. So I played every sport I could possibly play. I poured myself into being a good athlete. Never got the chance to do professional athletics, but that was my goal, was always to win, right? In my day, there was no participant ribbons. There was no, everybody gets a trophy. In my day and age, if everybody got a trophy, they would have grabbed those trophies and kicked them down the street, right? Run them over with the car, whatever. Like, no, there's winners and there's losers. That's in the Bible somewhere, I'm sure. Listen, so in my day, so we just came back from the men's retreat. And the men split up. We play softball every year. Hey, guys, if you missed the men's retreat, don't miss it next year. It was fantastic, off the charts. We had a ton of guys, and it's great. And it's not far from here, but we played softball. And listen, in softball, like in life, there's winners and there's losers. So I want you to understand something. I'm growing up, I'm playing a lot of athletics. And here's the thing. What you realize about an athlete, whether you're professional or you just like to screw around, on the courts or whatever on Saturdays. Here's what you realize about sports. It hurts worse to lose than it feels good to win. So let me give you think about the pinnacle of our culture. It's probably the Super Bowl. Is you have a football team that finally reaches the pinnacle, and you see, like Philadelphia won last year, unfortunately. And so they were celebrating, and everybody was happy. But the dejection that teams that lost, that got so close but lost, is way more traumatic than the joy and ecstasy of winning. In fact, it's so traumatic, some guys never recover when they get that close and lose. So here's the point I'm making to you. Many of us, because we are so afraid to lose, won't even follow God forward. Because we're so scared to stumble again that we just go, it's better if I just do nothing. And that's never the way to live your life. God always calls you forward, but it's going to be up to you if you're willing to consecrate yourself and go, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this junk in my life. I know I'm a gambling addict. I know I'm a pharmaceutical addict. I had that hip surgery like 30 years ago, and I'm still taking Norcos. I know I got to move on. I know I got these things. Everybody's got strongholds, but guess what? You're the one that can walk out of your stronghold. And now finally you go, I'm ready to move forward. And guess what? Here's you. Ready? Here's you. I'm going to show you right now. This is you. Or this is you. You're either this, spiritually, or you're this. This is a scary spot because you are walking forward, and it's a possibility you might fail. But guess what? When you're walking with God, you will never fail. When God has called you, you'll never fail. It's scary still, but you will never fail. You will never lose. But faith requires trust. And that's exactly what we see today with Israel. They wandered around for 40 years and screwed around while they waited for the old people to die. And now finally at the border, the new guys are ready to walk in. The people full of faith are ready to walk into the new land. Touching the water heaped up 18 miles upstream at Adam, which if you Google modern Damia, you'll see it. So all of Israel walked over on dry ground, just like as they did at the Red Sea. So look at this picture. So this is like an overview of what's happening. You see the Sea of Galilee at the top of this picture. That's where Jesus walked on water. And you see the Dead Sea, which is known as the Salt Sea or the Sea of Arabah. This is the lowest place on the face of the earth. When we go to Israel, you'll walk there. And when you stand there at the Dead Sea, if those mountains weren't in the way, the Mediterranean Sea would bury you by almost 1,000 feet underwater. It's super, super low. So Israel now is on the eastern side, and they have to cross over the Jordan, which is at flood stage in the story. Now think about it. Who can get over? Pretty much you young men, your warriors, the strong of your people. But guess what? Most of the women, children, elderly, herds of animals, how are they getting across there? They're not, unless God does a miracle. So look, here's the Google Maps of it. This is the long shot where you see the Damia bridge. There's actually a bridge in the same spot where it says that God dammed up the river. We don't know how he did it, if he did it with an angel that held back the water and dried up the ground behind him. It would have been awesome to be there. I would have loved to have seen is it like a glass? You can it's like an aquarium. You can see the fish swimming on the other side of this invisible whatever in the Jordan. Or did God supernaturally cause a mudslide to block the river? Actually, that happened in 1929 at that exact same spot. The mudslide slid across at Damia right there, and it blocked the river for 20 hours. That the whole river dried up in that sense. It didn't dry the way it did in this story, but it actually happened right there. So here's a closer view of where Israel was, right above the Dead Sea right there. And you see they are the agricultural plain that's there today, right now. This is where you would have had literally thousands, if not millions of people could have camped right there. And that's where Israel camped, right before they shot across the Jordan River to Jericho, which is right to the left right there, which we will talk about for these next few weeks. So understand, God blocks the water 18 miles upstream. It's all dry, like a desert bottom floor. They're not trudging through mud. For this reason, Israel was over 1 million people. They didn't walk single file behind one another. They literally walked over as a massive horde across the Jordan River because it was dry. And that's the kind of distance that you would need for millions of people to walk over at the same time. And so they walked across the Jordan, and they came to the Jericho side. And we're going to see the next few weeks how they miraculously attack Jericho, one of the most impenetrable cities of the ancient history.